The medical transport ship, Mercy, moved silently through the darkness of space. Its white hull stood out against the black void, marked with bright red crosses that could be understood by any species in the Galactic Alliance. Captain June Kim sat in the command chair, his eyes fixed on the main screen. He was tired. The ship had been on patrol for 3 weeks, visiting Alliance outposts to deliver medical supplies and offer training to local medical teams. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call," said Commander Tae Lee, looking up from his station. "It's from Navis 4, one of our new colony worlds." June straightened in his chair. "Put it through." The screen flickered, showing a panicked alien face. The Miral were snake-like creatures with 4 arms and wide, intelligent eyes. This one's scales were a dull gray color, showing extreme stress. "This is Governor Eth of Navis 4. We are under attack by Kroll forces. They've used some kind of weapon. Our children, our babies, please. We need immediate assistance." The transmission cut off suddenly. The bridge fell silent. "Set course for Navis 4. Maximum speed," June ordered. "Dr. Park to the bridge, please." Within minutes, Dr. Sue Park entered. She was shorter than Captain Kim, with short black hair and serious eyes. As the ship's xenobiologist, she understood alien bodies better than anyone else on board. "We have a situation," June told her, and played the distress call. Sue's face grew worried. The Miral reproduce only once every 7 years. Their young are sacred to them. Tae spoke up from his station. "Captain, I'm getting reports from Alliance Command. The Kroll Empire has launched a major offensive against 3 border worlds, including Navis 4. Time to arrival?" June asked. 4 hours, Captain. Prepare the medical bay for possible casualties. All hands on battle stations." The Mercy dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Navis 4. The sight before them made everyone on the bridge gasp. The small green world was surrounded by the wreckage of ships. Several Alliance vessels were retreating, while Kroll warships, black and sharp like knives, were moving away from the planet. "They're leaving," Tae said, surprised. "The battle's over." "Hail the Alliance flagship," ordered June. A large mantis-like alien appeared on screen. Admiral Krell of the Vossi species clicked his mandibles in greeting. "Captain Kim, you are too late. The colony is lost." "We received a distress call about a weapon used against Miral children," June said. "We're here to provide medical assistance." The Admiral's compound eyes seemed to darken. "The colony has been evacuated. All viable survivors are aboard our ships." "What about the children mentioned in the distress call?" There was a pause. "They are casualties of war, Captain. The Kroll used a new biological weapon. It targets the neural systems of Miral young. They are paralyzed but fully conscious. There is nothing to be done." Dr. Park stepped forward. "Admiral, with respect, we should at least examine them. Perhaps we can help." "The risk is too great," Admiral Krell replied coldly. "The Kroll may return. Alliance protocol is clear. We do not endanger resources for non-viable casualties." June felt something cold settle in his stomach. "You're saying you left the children behind? Alive, but paralyzed?" "It is unfortunate, but necessary. The needs of the many outweigh—" "How many?" June interrupted. "Excuse me? How many children were left behind?" The Admiral seemed annoyed at the question. "Colony records indicate 47 Miral young were in the main nursery, plus others in family units, perhaps 70 in total." The bridge of the Mercy fell silent. "We will send you coordinates to rendezvous with the evacuation fleet," the Admiral continued. "You can assist with the wounded we managed to save." "Thank you, Admiral. We'll be in touch." June cut the transmission. He turned to find his crew staring at him in shock. "They left the babies," Tae whispered. "Just left them?" Sue's face was pale with anger. "The Miral children have a lifespan of over 200 years. If they're only paralyzed, they could be lying there conscious for decades before dying of thirst or starvation." June turned to the communications officer. "Are there any Miral ships in the evacuation fleet?" "Yes, Captain. 3 transport vessels. Contact them. I want to speak with someone in authority." A few minutes later, a mural appeared on screen. This one wore the silver bands of a diplomat around his upper arms. I am Vax, representative of the Mural Cooperative. How may I assist you, Captain? June leaned forward. We understand Myral children were left behind on the colony. The aliens. Face showed no emotion, but his scales darkened slightly. This is true, a most regrettable necessity. Your own children were abandoned? And you agreed to this? Vax's tongue flicked out briefly, a sign of distress. Captain, you are new to the Alliance. You do not understand our ways. In war, hard choices must be made. But these are your children, and they are lost to us now. To risk more lives would only compound the tragedy. The Alliance Council made the decision unanimously. The human representatives agreed to this. June asked, disbelieving. There were no humans present at the emergency session. Your species is still under probationary status in the Alliance. June exchanged looks with Sue and Tay. Something unspoken passed between them. Thank you for your time, June said finally. After the transmission ended, June stood up and walked to the viewport, staring at the green and blue world below. Behind him, the bridge crew waited. Orders, Captain? Tay asked quietly. June turned around. His face was set with determination. Scan the planet. I want to know exactly where those children are. Sue, what do we know about this biological weapon? Sue checked her tablet. Very little. It seems to target the neural pathways unique to mural physiology. It causes complete paralysis but leaves consciousness intact. Could we treat it? Sue hesitated. Maybe. I'd need to examine a patient first. June nodded. Tay, what's the status of the Kroll forces? They've withdrawn to the far side of the system. They seem to be regrouping, not leaving. So they might come back. June paced the bridge slowly. Alliance protocol says we should join the evacuation fleet, leave those children to die slowly, fully aware of what's happening to them. The crew watched him, waiting. I didn't join the medical corps to follow protocols like that, June said firmly. And I don't think any of you did either. What are you suggesting, Captain? Tay asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. June looked each member of his bridge crew in the eye. I'm suggesting we disobey direct orders. I'm suggesting we risk our ship, our careers, and possibly our lives for children who aren't even human. I'm suggesting we do what's right, not what's easy. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Sue stepped forward. I'll prepare the medical bay and research team. Tay nodded. Security teams will stand ready for ground operations. One by one, the bridge crew voiced their support. Send a message to the Alliance fleet, June ordered. Tell them we're experiencing technical difficulties with our engines. We'll join them shortly. He sat back in his command chair, feeling the weight of his decision. Take us into orbit, let's find those children. As the Mercy moved toward the planet, June knew they were crossing a line. Humans were the newest species in the Alliance, still proving their worth. This act of defiance might end humanity's place among the stars, but some prices were too high to pay for acceptance. Some lines couldn't be crossed even for peace. If we can save even one child, he said quietly, it will be worth it. The medical ship descended toward Navis 4, alone, but resolved. The Mercy entered low orbit around Navis 4. Through the main viewport, the crew could see patches of fire and destruction scarring the colony's surface. What was once a peaceful settlement was now a battlefield. Scans complete, Captain, reported the sensor officer. I'm detecting life signs in the central colony area, multiple small mural signatures. June nodded grimly. How many? 63 distinct signatures, all showing minimal neural activity. Just as reported, they're alive but paralyzed. Dr. Sue Park studied the medical readouts on her tablet. Her face showed both concern and determination. Captain, I need to assemble a team, she said. If we're going to help these children, I'll need the best medical personnel we have. Take whoever you need, June replied, but we need to move fast. Alliance Command will realize we've disobeyed orders soon. The ship's intercom chimed. Bridge, this is communications. We're receiving a direct transmission from Admiral Ra of the Miral Defense Force. June took a deep breath. Put it through. The main screen lit up with the image of an older Miral. Admiral Ra's scales were dark blue with age and silver bands wrapped all four of his arms. Captain Kim, the Admiral said, his voice surprisingly calm. I understand your ship has not joined the evacuation fleet. We're experiencing technical difficulties, June lied, maintaining eye contact. Do not insult my intelligence, Captain. Ra's tongue flicked out briefly. Your intentions are clear. You plan to rescue the young ones we left behind. June saw no point in continuing the lie. With respect, Admiral, I cannot understand how your people agreed to abandon your own children. The Admiral was silent for a moment. You are very young, both as an individual and as a species. The Miral have fought the Kroll for 7 generations. We have learned hard lessons about survival. So you just write them off? 70 conscious, helpless children? It is not a decision made lightly, Captain. For the first time, emotion crept into the Admiral's voice. Every Miral in the fleet feels the pain of this choice. Some of those children belong to crew members on my ships. Sue stepped closer to the screen. Admiral, I'm Dr. Park, Chief Xenobiologist. If you could share information about this biological weapon, we might be able to develop a treatment. The Admiral shook his head. The weapon is new. We have no defense against it. And even if you could help them, how would you escape? The Kroll will return to secure their victory. We'll face that problem when we come to it, June said firmly. Admiral Ross studied him with ancient eyes. You would risk your ship and crew for children who are not your own species? Yes. Why? The question hung in the air. June thought for a moment before answering. Because they're children, he said simply. Because they're scared and in pain and need help. Where I come from, that's enough. The Admiral's scales shifted color slightly. You realize your actions violate direct orders? The consequences could end your career and damage humanity's standing in the Alliance. Some things matter more than rules, June replied. Ra was silent for a long moment. I cannot officially support your mission, but... He paused, looking around as if to ensure no one else was listening. I am sending you medical files on Miral physiology and what little we know of this weapon. Sue's tablet chimed as the files arrived. This transmission never happened, the Admiral continued. May your human compassion prove wiser than our hard experience. The screen went dark. June turned to Sue. Can you use those files? She was already studying them intently. Yes, this helps a lot. She looked up. But I'll need to examine a patient directly to develop a treatment. Then we need to get down there, June said. He pressed the ship's intercom. This is the captain. I need volunteers for a ground mission. The objective is to rescue paralyzed Miral children from the colony surface. This mission directly violates Alliance orders. Anyone who participates risks serious consequences. Report to the shuttle bay in 20 minutes if you're willing to join. He turned to Tay. Prepare a security team. We don't know if Kroll soldiers are still down there. In the shuttle bay, June was surprised to see how many crew members had volunteered. Nearly 30 people stood in lines, both humans and aliens, from other species serving on the Mercy. Hyun Choi, a neural specialist, stepped forward. Captain, I've studied Miral brain structure. I might be able to help Dr. Park. Behind him, Jun Kang nodded. I worked in emergency evacuations before joining the medical corps. I know how to move injured patients safely. June looked over the volunteers with pride. We'll take 2 shuttles. Dr. Park will lead the medical team in the first shuttle. I'll command the second with the security detail. As they prepared to board, a tall, slender alien approached June. It was Zith, the ship's Vossi engineer. Captain, many of us non-humans have chosen to join this mission, Zith said, mandibles clicking softly. You should know why. I assumed it was because you're medical professionals, June replied. That is part of it. Sith admitted. But there is more. Many of us have served in the Alliance for years. We have followed protocols that sometimes went against our personal beliefs. Seeing humans reject an order that violates your moral code, it gives us courage. June hadn't expected this. The Alliance protocols exist for a reason. Sometimes hard choices must be made. Yes, Sith agreed, but perhaps we have become too accepting of those hard choices. Perhaps we needed humans to remind us of what we once were. Before June could respond, the ship's alarms began to sound. Captain, to the bridge. Commander Tay's voice came over the intercom. Krull ships are returning to the system. Back on the bridge, June stared at the tactical display in dismay. 3 Krull warships were moving toward Navis 4. Time until they're in range? He asked. 17 minutes, Tay replied. They'll detect us if we try to launch shuttles. June considered their options. Can we use the planet to shield us from their sensors? Possibly, but it's risky, Tay said. And even if we get down there, how do we get back up with the Krull in orbit? The communications officer spoke up. Captain, we're being hailed by Alliance Command. Admiral Krell demands to know why we haven't joined the evacuation fleet. The situation was unraveling quickly. June felt the weight of command pressing down on him. 70 paralyzed children were counting on them, but his entire crew would be at risk. Sir, Tay said quietly, we need to make a decision. June looked around at his bridge crew. Each face showed concern, but also trust in his leadership. Tell Alliance Command we're experiencing communication difficulties, he said. Then make our ship appear damaged on sensors. Leak some plasma, power down non-essential systems. You want the Krull to think we're crippled? Tay asked. Exactly. They might ignore a damaged medical ship. June turned to the navigation officer. Move us into position behind the planet's moon. That should help mask our shuttle launch. And if they detect us anyway? Sue asked. June's face was grim but determined. Then we fight if necessary. But our mission doesn't change. We're going down to the surface and we're bringing those children back. As the crew rushed to carry out his orders, June stared at the approaching Krull ships on the display. They were imposing war vessels built for destruction. The Mercy was a medical ship with minimal weapons, but they had something the Krull didn't understand, a refusal to abandon the helpless no matter the cost. Prepare the shuttles, June ordered. We launch in 5 minutes. The 2 shuttles dropped through Navis 4's atmosphere, hidden from Krull sensors by the planet's largest moon. Inside the lead shuttle, Captain June checked his weapon, while Dr. Sue Park organized her medical equipment. We have the coordinates of the main nursery, June said to the team. But the children may have been moved during the evacuation attempts. Hyun Choi looked up from his medical scanner. I've programmed this to detect Miral neural patterns. It should help us find all of them. The shuttle shook as it hit turbulence. Through the viewport, they could see the colony coming into view. Once a beautiful settlement of curved buildings and gardens, now many structures were burning or destroyed. Landing zone in sight, announced the pilot. No signs of Krull ground forces, but our scanners have limited range. The shuttles touched down in a small park near the colony center. Teams quickly exited, weapons ready. Security teams, establish a perimeter, June ordered. Medical teams, prepare to move on my signal. Jun Kang approached with a stack of folded devices. Portable stretchers, Captain. They'll help us move the children safely. June nodded. Good thinking. He turned to Sue. Doctor, which way to the nursery? Sue checked her tablet. 200 meters northeast, that large dome structure. They moved carefully through the abandoned streets. The silence was eerie. Personal belongings were scattered everywhere, showing how quickly people had fled. Stay alert, June warned. The Krull might have left behind scouts or traps. When they reached the nursery, 2 security officers checked the entrance before waving the others forward. Inside, the scene made everyone stop in shock. Dozens of small Miral children lay on the floor. Their scales were dull gray instead of healthy blue. Their eyes were open and blinking, the only movement they could make. They're aware, Sue whispered, her voice tight with emotion. They can see and hear us. Hyun knelt beside the closest child, scanning gently. Neural pathways are intact but blocked. It's like their brains are sending signals, but their bodies can't receive them. June looked around the room. How many? 42 in this room, reported Tae, who had joined them from the second shuttle. Scans show more in nearby buildings. Sue began examining a child, speaking softly. Hello, little one. We're here to help you. I know you're scared, but we're going to take care of you. The child's eyes focused on her, blinking rapidly. They can understand us, Sue said. Set up a medical station here. Hyun, help me analyze blood samples. We need to understand this weapon before we can treat it. June turned to June. Start organizing evacuation teams. We need to be ready to move as soon as Dr. Park has a treatment plan. As the teams worked, June's communicator beeped. Captain, came the voice of the Mercy's acting commander. Kroll ships have established orbit. They haven't detected us yet, but we can't risk communication again after this. You have 3 hours before we must leave the system with or without you. Understood, June replied. We'll be ready. He turned off the communicator and saw his team looking at him. 3 hours, he announced. Let's make them count. In the nursery, Sue and Hyun worked frantically. They had set up portable lab equipment and were testing various treatments on blood samples. Captain, Sue called after an hour of work. We have something. June hurried over. A cure? Not exactly, Hyun explained. But we've created a compound that should temporarily break the neural blockage. It won't cure them, but it might allow enough movement for them to swallow and breathe more easily during transport. How temporary? June asked. 6 to 8 hours, Sue said. After that, the paralysis will return unless we develop a permanent treatment. It's better than nothing, June decided. Start administering it to the children. As Sue prepared the first injection, June approached with news. Captain, we found 21 more children in family homes. That's 63 total. Can we transport them all? June nodded. The stretchers can be stacked in the shuttles. It will be tight, but we can do it. Then let's, June began, but was interrupted by a security officer rushing in. Captain, Kroll, scouts spotted approaching from the west. 6 of them, heavily armed. Tae immediately took charge of defense. Set up positions around the building. Don't fire unless they come this way. June checked his watch. They still had almost 2 hours before the Mercy would leave. How long until the children can be moved? We need at least 30 minutes to administer the treatment to all of them, Sue replied. You have 15, June said. Then we start moving them to the shuttles. From his position near a window, June watched the Kroll scouts through binoculars. They were reptilian creatures with tough gray skin and 4 eyes. Their weapons were large and cruel-looking. They're searching buildings, Tae reported. Moving, in a pattern. They'll reach us in 10 minutes. June considered their options. They could try to hide and hope the Kroll missed them. They could fight, but that would alert the Kroll ships in orbit. Or they could try to reach the shuttles before being spotted. None of the options were good. Just then, an explosion sounded from the far side of the colony. The Kroll scouts immediately turned and moved toward it. What was that? June asked. Tae checked his scanner. Unknown, but it's drawing the Kroll away. June's communicator suddenly activated. A familiar voice spoke. Captain Kim, this is Vax. Several of us disagreed with leaving our young. We followed your ship. We will distract the Kroll while you evacuate. June was stunned. How many of you are there? 12, Vax replied. All parents of children in that nursery. We couldn't live with abandoning them. Join us, June urged. We can evacuate together. No, Vax said firmly. The shuttles are too small for all of us, plus the children. Get our young to safety, Captain. That is all we ask. Before June could argue further, the communication ended. Sir, June called from inside. First group of children ready for transport. June made his decision. Begin evacuation now. Tae, have half the security team escort the first group to the shuttles. As teams began moving children on stretchers, June noticed something remarkable. The first child Sue had treated was moving, her small fingers slightly. "It's working," Sue said, her eyes bright with hope. "The treatment is working." June watched as more children began to show small signs of movement. Their eyes no longer held only fear. There was hope there now. Another explosion sounded in the distance. Vax and his team were still drawing the Kroll away. "We'll come back for them," June promised quietly. "Once the children are safe, we'll come back for Vax and his team." As they loaded the stretchers onto the first shuttle, a small Miral child managed to move her hand enough to grasp June's finger. The touch was weak, but deliberate. In that moment, June knew they had made the right choice, whatever the consequences might be. The first shuttle lifted off, carrying 30 Miral children and half the medical team. June watched it rise into the sky, hoping the Kroll ships wouldn't detect it. They still had 33 children to evacuate. "Second group ready for transport," Jun called, directing his team as they prepared the remaining children. In the distance, the sounds of weapons fire grew louder. Vax and his team couldn't distract the Kroll forever. June's communicator crackled. "Captain," Tay reported from his lookout position. "Kroll scouts are circling back. We have maybe 10 minutes. "Understood." "Speed up the evacuation," June ordered. He turned to Sue, who was administering the treatment to the last few children. "How much longer?" "5 more minutes," she replied, not looking up from her work. "These last few are very young. I need to adjust the dosage carefully." Hyun worked beside her, monitoring each child's response to the treatment. "The first ones we treated are showing more movement now. Some can move their heads slightly." Outside, an explosion shook the ground. Much closer this time. "Captain," a security officer called urgently. "Kroll forces approaching from the east now too. We're being surrounded." June made a quick decision. "Start moving the children who've been treated. We'll take the last few as soon as they're ready." Teams of medical personnel carefully lifted the small Miral bodies onto stretchers. Though still mostly paralyzed, some children could now blink deliberately or wiggle their fingers. One small child managed to make a soft chirping sound, the first noise any of them had made. "They're fighting," Sue said, smiling briefly as she worked. "They're so brave." As the second group of children was being moved toward the exit, a security officer burst in. "Captain, Kroll forces have spotted the shuttle. They're approaching fast." "How many?" June asked. "At least 20, heavily armed." The situation was deteriorating rapidly. They couldn't outrun the Kroll carrying the paralyzed children, and the shuttle was still 10 minutes away on foot. "New plan," June announced. "We need shelter that we can defend, something with thick walls." Jun spoke up. "There's an old mining facility 200 meters south, built into a hillside. One entrance, solid structure. Perfect. All teams, change direction, move to the mining facility. Security, prepare for combat." As they left the nursery, 3 Miral children still hadn't received treatment. Sue carried one herself, continuing to work as they moved. The mining facility was a large concrete structure built into the side of a small hill. Its entrance was narrow, a perfect bottleneck to defend. "Get the children inside," June ordered, as they approached. Security teams, defensive positions. They had barely made it inside when the first Kroll scouts appeared, moving through the abandoned streets with weapons ready. "Hold fire unless they spot us," Tay instructed the security team. Maybe they'll pass by, but luck wasn't with them. A Kroll scout looked directly at the facility entrance and raised his weapon. Tay fired first, dropping the scout, but the others immediately took cover and began returning fire. "They've called for backup," a security officer reported, listening to intercepted communications. "We have minutes before we're overwhelmed." Inside the facility, medical teams worked to keep the children calm. Many of the Miral young could now make small sounds, their chirps of fear echoing in the concrete space. June contacted the Mercy. "This is ground team. We're pinned down by Kroll forces. Second shuttle cannot reach our position." The reply came, through broken and static-filled. "Detected by Kroll ships. Cannot send help. 1 hour remaining. The situation seemed hopeless. They were trapped, outnumbered, with no way to reach their shuttle or contact their ship clearly. June gathered his officers. Options? We fight, Tay said simply. Hold them off as long as we can. The children are our priority, Sue reminded them. If we can buy enough time, maybe the Mercy can find a way to help. June studied a map of the area. There might be another way. This facility has old maintenance tunnels. They might lead to a position closer to our shuttle landing zone. How do you know this? June asked. I studied colony infrastructure before we landed. Standard procedure for evacuation specialists. June nodded. Check the tunnels. If they're passable, we'll send the children through with half our team. The rest of us will stay and hold this position. While June searched for tunnel access, June joined Sue with the children. The treatment was working better than expected. Some could now move their heads and hands, though their bodies remained mostly paralyzed. One child, slightly larger than the others, managed to reach out and touch June's hand. Its eyes blinked a pattern that seemed deliberate. They're trying to communicate, Sue realized. Miral use eye blinks as a secondary language. Hyun checked his tablet. According to the files Admiral Ra sent us, 3 blinks followed by 2 quick ones means, thank you. June felt a lump in his throat. Tell them they're welcome. Tell them we won't leave them. Jun returned with good news. Found the tunnel entrance. It's narrow but passable. Leads to an exit point 400 meters from our shuttle. How many can go at once? June asked. Single file only. We'll need to carry each child individually. It wasn't ideal, but it was their only option. Start moving them. Medical team first, then children, security in front and behind. As they prepared to move, the Kroll attack intensified. Plasma bolts struck the entrance, forcing the defenders to take cover. They're bringing up heavier weapons, Tay reported. We can't hold much longer. June made the difficult decision. I'll stay with 5 security officers. We'll hold them as long as we can. Everyone else, get the children to the shuttle. Sue protested. Captain, we need you. That's an order, Doctor, June said firmly. Those children are your responsibility now. As the medical teams began moving children into the tunnel, June and his small security team prepared for their last stand. They moved furniture to create barricades and checked their weapons. It has been an honor, Captain, said Zith, the Vossi engineer, who had volunteered to stay behind. The honor is mine, June replied. Today we showed the galaxy what humanity stands for. The Kroll were massing for a final assault when June's communicator suddenly activated. Captain Kim, came a familiar voice through the static. This is Admiral Ra. Hold your position. Help is coming. Before June could respond, the sound of weapons fire changed. The Kroll were suddenly under attack from behind. What's happening? June asked, peering carefully around the barricade. Alliance ships just dropped out of FTL in orbit, Tay reported, checking his scanner in disbelief. They're engaging the Kroll fleet. On the ground, confusion spread among the Kroll forces as they found themselves caught between June's position and new attackers. Captain, the communicator crackled again. This is the Mercy. Alliance reinforcements have arrived. Admiral Ra. Convinced 3 morale ships to return. We're sending the second shuttle to your position now. For the first time in hours, June allowed himself to hope. Tell the medical team to keep moving through the tunnels. We'll hold this position until everyone is safe. The sound of Alliance weapons grew louder. Help had arrived, just in time. 3 months had passed since the rescue mission on Navis 4. Captain June Kim stood at attention before the Alliance Council in their grand meeting chamber on Centauri Prime. The 7 members of the council, 1 from each species, sat at a raised table before him. Beside June stood Sue, Tae, Hyun, and Jun. All wore their formal medical corps uniforms. Behind them sat other crew members from the Mercy who had participated in the rescue. Admiral Ra, now representing the morale on the council, leaned forward. Captain Kim, 3 months ago you disobeyed direct orders from Alliance Command. You risked your ship and crew to return to Navis 4. Today we will determine the consequences of those actions. June stood tall. I accept full responsibility, Admiral. My crew followed my orders. Noble, but unnecessary, replied the Vasi representative. Each member of your crew has already stated they acted willingly. The human representative, Ambassador Chen, spoke next. Before we continue, the council would like to hear your reasoning, Captain. Why did you make this decision? June took a breath. When I joined the medical corps, I swore an oath to preserve life, all life. When I heard those children had been abandoned, conscious but unable to move, I couldn't leave them to suffer and die. Even knowing it violated Alliance protocol? Asked the Tellan representative, a blue-skinned being with large eyes. Some protocols should be questioned, June replied firmly. If we abandon the most helpless among us, what are we fighting for? The council members exchanged glances. Admiral Ra nodded slightly. We have reviewed the mission records, Ra continued. 63 Miral children were rescued. Without your intervention, all would have perished. And what of their condition, now? Asked the Drell representative. Sue stepped forward. With permission, I can answer that question. At the council's nod, she continued. After 3 months of treatment, 59 children have fully recovered. The remaining 4 show significant improvement and should recover completely within another month. You developed a cure for a weapon our scientists believed was untreatable, the Vasi representative commented. Human medical science takes a different approach, Sue explained. Where your scientists saw neural pathways as fixed, we explored ways to create new ones. The children's bodies learned to bypass the damaged connections. Ambassador Chen smiled proudly. Dr. Park's treatment has now been shared with all Alliance medical facilities. And what of Vax and his team? June asked. The Miral parents who stayed behind to help us? Admiral Ra's scales darkened slightly. Only 3 survived. They have been honored as heroes among our people. A silence fell over the chamber. Eventually, the council leader, a tall Drell with silver markings, spoke. Captain Kim, your actions cannot go unanswered. You violated direct orders. You risked your ship and crew. You endangered the Alliance's battlefield protocols. He paused. And yet, you saved 63 lives that our protocols had deemed expendable. The leader continued. More importantly, you forced us to examine what we have become. In our long war against the Kroll, we have sacrificed too much of what made us worthy of defense in the first place. Admiral Ra stood. I propose a formal amendment to Alliance protocol. No longer shall we classify any civilian casualties as non-viable, simply because rescue is difficult or dangerous. If there is any chance of survival, we must try. Seconded, said the Vasi representative immediately. The motion passes, declared the council leader after a unanimous vote. As for you, Captain Kim, and your crew, June braced himself for punishment. You are hereby commended for exceptional courage and compassion. Your actions represent the highest ideals of the Alliance. Surprise rippled through the humans present. Furthermore, continued the council leader, in recognition of the unique perspective humanity brings to the Alliance, your species is granted full membership status, effective immediately. Ambassador Chen looked stunned. Full membership? But we've only been probationary members for 3 years. The standard waiting period is 10. These are not standard times, replied Admiral Ra. Perhaps they never should have been. After the council session, June and his officers were invited to the Miral embassy. There, in a large room filled with shallow pools of warm water, they found the rescued children. The young Miral were swimming, climbing, and playing. Their scales shimmered with healthy blue tones. Seeing the humans enter, several children rushed over, chirping excitedly. They remember you, said a Miral attendant. They've been learning your language. A slightly larger child approached June. Captain, it said carefully, the word difficult with its Miral mouth. Thank you. June knelt to the child's level. You're very welcome. What's your name? I am Kier, the child replied. I want to be like you when I grow up. A ship captain? June asked, smiling. A human, Kier answered seriously. Sue, who had been examining the children's health records, looked up in surprise. Admiral Ra, who had joined them, explained. Not physically, of course, but in spirit. These children now speak of human courage and human compassion. as the highest qualities one can possess. We're not perfect, June said, embarrassed. Humans have many flaws. Perhaps, Ra agreed. But when faced with an impossible choice between protocol and compassion, you chose compassion without hesitation. That is worthy of admiration. A group of adult morale approached, their postures respectful. These are the parents of the children you saved, Ra explained. They wish to show you something. One of the morale held out a small object, a metal disc, with engravings. This is the Medal of Eternal Debt, Ra translated. Our highest honor. It has never been given to non-Miral before. The Miral parent pressed the medal into June's hand, then touched its forehead to his in the Miral gesture of deepest respect. What happens now? Tay asked, watching the children play. Now, said Ra, we rebuild Navis 4, but differently this time. The human government has offered to help establish a joint colony, the first of its kind. And the war with the Kroll? Sue asked. Peace talks have begun, Ra replied. Our rescue mission showed them something they didn't expect. When we returned for those children, when humans risked everything for alien young, it challenged their understanding of us. June watched the children playing. One small mural was showing Hyun how to float properly in the shallow pool. Another was teaching June a mural game with colored stones. Captain, Ra said quietly, your people have a saying. The measure of a civilization is how it treats its weakest members. For too long, the Alliance forgot this wisdom. You reminded us. As they prepared to leave, the children gathered around them. Together, they blinked a pattern with their eyes. The Myral gesture. Frey family, they consider you kin now, Ra explained. In our culture, those who save a child's life become part of their family forever. June smiled. Tell them we feel the same way. Outside the embassy, Admiral Ra walked with them to their transport. The Alliance Council has asked me to inform you that the Mercy is being reassigned. New orders? June asked. Yes. You will lead a new medical initiative across Alliance space. Your methods, your compassion. Other worlds wish to learn from humanity. June thought about the children they had saved and the families reunited. He thought about the changes happening in the Alliance because of one mission, one choice to value life above protocol. We accept the assignment, he said simply. As their transport lifted off, June could see the new memorial being constructed in the embassy gardens, a statue of a human holding a Miral child. Below it, words in both languages read, In our darkest hour they carried our future. It was a beginning, not just for the children they had saved, but for a new understanding between all species of the Alliance.